Welcome to our CYC episode of Nativity in the Armenian Orthodox Church. I'm here with
Mark Dudarian.
And Dr. Anna Kazanchian.
Okay, can you guys tell me a little bit about the Nativity Christmas in the Armenian family?
Well, we celebrate our Christmas on January the 6th, which is the old calendar. In the West, here in the United States, everybody celebrates Christmas on December 25th according to the Roman tradition. And the Roman tradition had changed the date. It originally was on January 6th because they had a pagan holiday that everybody was focused on. Saturnalia was what it was called. And so the Roman Church decided to change the date of the Nativity to December 25th. The Armenian Church didn't have that issue and continues to this day to celebrate the Theophany on January 6th, which is the original calendar date. But in recognition of where we are in this country, we do have some celebration on the 24th, which is the eve of Christmas in the United States. And what we do here in this country, in this church, we'll have a Christmas Eve celebration, and we'll have the Sunday school students perform a pageant. But before that, our priest has the feast of Saint Stephen, which I think you know is Saint Stephen was the proto-martyr, the first martyr, the first deacon of the church. And on that day, which is close to the American Christmas on December 25th, he will have this Feast of St. Stephen's celebrated here. And that day is in honor of all the deacons. So the deacons, if you're a full deacon, will actually wear the priest's crown for that service. And it's a short service that we have here in our church for about half hour. And after we conclude here, we go into our auditorium to have the kids will do their Christmas pageant. But on January the 6th, when we normally celebrate have the church celebration, we're actually celebrating two events, and it's really focused around the revelation of Christ. Christ was revealed to us as human beings first through his birth and second through his baptism. So on January 6th, when we have that celebration, we're actually doing two things, but the focus is not just so much on the birth, but on Christ's revelation. And again, revealed to us through his birth and also through his baptism. Because when he was being baptized, as you know, the Holy Spirit descended upon him, and the heavens opened up, and God said, "This is my Son, whom I am well pleased." And from those two things, we know that Christ was the Son of God, and that's what we celebrate on January 6th.
For the Armenian family at home, how would you say you celebrate your Christmas Eve or your Christmas Day? Like, are there any traditional foods you make or traditions of gift giving, or how is the holiday celebrated at home?
So I have a 4-year-old daughter by the name of Mariam Aghavni, and Mariam is the Armenian version of the name for Virgin Mary, Mother of God. And the focus has always been, ever since she started to understand Armenian, to teach her the meaning of Christmas. And it's not about gifts, it's about the birth and revelation of Christ. And she has a very good understanding of it now. So when we are celebrating it, she always says, "Oh, Mom, we're celebrating the birthday for Jesus Christ." And I think that's sort of the spirit of it. We do give her a token gift just to sort of commemorate that occasion. But it's all about the family being together. It's all about cooking the traditional meal. We typically have, fish and spinach and rice pilaf and some appetizers, and we all celebrate Christmas after having come to the Christmas sermon at the church. And we go home, and that's how we do the celebration.
As Coptic Orthodox Christians, we fast before the Feast of Nativity. Does the Armenian Church fast as well?
Our practice is every time we take communion, we fast. And we're supposed to take communion on all the feast days. We also fast during the Lenten period. And then we fast, this is a requirement, each Sunday we're supposed to be taking communion. It's supposed to be part of our participation in the liturgy, and before that we're supposed to fast too. So we should be fasting, for the whole day. So from when we go to bed the night before to the next morning, we're not supposed to be eating, and we're supposed to be engaged in prayer and contemplation of what we're about to partake in.
So how does the fast work again? You fast in the nighttime and then you eat
Well,
again?
after your last meal on, let's say, Saturday night, you're not supposed to eat again until you've taken communion the following day, and Sunday. So, but during Lenten periods, the fasting should extend through that whole 40-day period, and the fast at that point is not to eat any animal product or dairy product or anything like that.
And I can profess to that as someone who regretfully did not used to fast several years ago, and now I'm regularly fasting before communion as well as for Lenten period. It's a very, very different spiritual experience, and I'm doing everything to teach my 4-year-old daughter to follow in those footsteps.
And how is the Nativity liturgy different from a regular Sunday Mass?
There's a couple of hymns that might be a little bit different. Then, as I said before, when we celebrate also his baptism, what we have, when the priest finishes the liturgy, he'll come down and then there's a big bowl of water. And this will signify the River Jordan. And we reenact Christ's baptism. And what the priest will do is he has this big bowl of water, and he has I don't know if you could see it from here, but in one of the side altars, there's a dove-shaped receptacle that holds our holy oil, the muron we call it in Armenian. This holy oil is blessed once every 7 years in Echmiadzin, which is our mother sea. He will take that holy oil that's in this dove-like receptacle, and the dove representing the Holy Spirit that descended on Christ at his baptism. He will take that dove, and while they're singing prayers and chants, the drops of holy oil will fall from the dove and into the water, again signifying the Holy Spirit descending on Christ during his baptism. And then the priest takes the cross, which the cross represents Christ, and he puts that into the holy water, or now it's holy water, and now this is reenacting Christ's baptism. It's kind of a dramatic celebration that we go through, and then after that's concluded, during that time, there's one of the parishioners serves as the godfather of the baptism. Like you have normally a godfather in a baptism, we have a godfather. His function is to hold the cross after it comes out of the water, and at the end of the conclusion of that service, people will come kiss the cross that the young person is holding, and water from that basin is given to people, and they can take it home and cook with it or drink it right on the spot. And it's been said that that water, because it is holy water, will have miraculous properties. So if you're ill, it could hopefully cure you. That's one of the unique things that's in the Armenian Church about the Nativity.
And that's on January 6th.
6th, right. And what we do here in this church, we do, regardless of what day of the week it is, we will have service on January 6th. He'll have a regular Mass, and then we'll do our liturgy, rather. He'll have a liturgy on January 6th, and then he will also do this water blessing ceremony, and then we will go into the atrium for refreshments and fellowship meal afterwards. So that is kind of like a unique thing that we do in this community, where we have the celebration, but then we go as a community and we have like what he calls an agape meal, which I guess is Greek for love. So we partaking in this community thing as a whole.
And you also take communion on January 6th?
Right. But he also repeat that service on the Sunday that's closest to January 6th, because a lot of people, because of work, cannot come here on that day. myself, I take the day off from work, and I make sure I'm here. And the church is about half full, but then he'll do it again on the Sunday closest to that. He'll do it again.
Feast of Nativity celebrated differently in Armenia compared to in this church?
Nowadays, likely not. It's very similar, but during the Soviet era, it was celebrated in a much abbreviated version because of the atheist mindset of the country at the time, unfortunately.
So now it's
very similar.
Similar now.
Very similar.
But how was it different? I mean, how they abbreviated it?
A very abbreviated version.
Wow.
You told me before that the Armenian language spoken is different than the Armenian language used in the church for prayer. Do you understand the language spoken in the church here?
Yeah, I personally I've studied a little bit of it, so I can understand specifically certain things that are being said, and I know I don't have to look in the book to understand what they're saying. I know what's happening. But again, for me to, and my regular Armenian is limited, but I can converse and I can talk, but I couldn't converse in classical Armenian. If somebody wanted to do that, it'd be tough. I think someone born and raised in Armenia, because their Armenian is a little bit different than what we had learned here in the West, I think their Armenian is a little bit closer and they're able to get a better handle on classical Armenian, right?
That's what I thought before I moved to the U.S. I was born and raised in Armenia, but after I came here to the first full church service in Krapar, which is the language we use during the service, it's very, very different. So I almost didn't understand a single word, but then eventually you learn it. And to me, the service, it's all about the mysticism and about the self-examination and all those other beautiful things. So you don't necessarily have to understand all of the words to be able to participate in it.
And do the priests and deacons wear different garments for the Nativity liturgy?
Deacons don't. They wear the same, except if in our church when we do the St. Stephen's thing, which is around the same time on the American
On the
day.
24th
Yeah,
of
the 24th,
December?
right. The deacons will wear the priest's crown because it's a celebration for the deacons on that day. St. Stephen being the first deacon and first martyr. But the priest, I don't think his vestments are the same, except he may wear a different color. Our priest has, I think, about 6, if I remember, 6 or 7 different colored vestments.
So here in the United States, a lot of people talk about Christmas as a season for gift giving and shopping, and they advertise it to be something like that instead of a Christian holiday. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, personally, I think it's wrong, and we get caught up in this commercialism and secularism that's rampant in this country. You can't escape it. But I think having the strength of the church here and being able to stay focused, on the church kind of helps counteract a lot of that stuff. But it's unfortunate. I mean, there is a lot of pressure and a lot of things. So I think I'm blessed in a way, or fortunate that my family doesn't get caught up in that too much. But you can see a lot of other families are consumed with these thoughts, and it does become a very stressful time because of that in this country. But
I was fortunate because when I moved here from Armenia, we didn't necessarily celebrate Christmas then, definitely not by giving gifts. It was just a time of prayer, etc. So when we moved here, I had a decision to make, and my decision at the time was I'm just not going to get caught up in this consumerism. And what we do is we give each other a token gift only, the family members, to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. And also what we do, and I recently sent out an email to our parish, urging them to, instead of giving each other gifts that no one needs or wants, to actually make small donations to orphanages in Armenia, because then that same amount of money goes to much greater use and helps buy those kids eyeglasses and warm mittens and things that they really need, such as food, that we take for granted in this country.
Is it difficult to raise children in a country that sees Christmas as a time to give gifts and shop and celebrate it that way, or have you been able to raise them to stick to the traditional Christmas celebration of Armenia?
I'm not going to do a victory dance at this point in time because my daughter is only 4, but I have done my best, and my husband has done his best to instill those sorts of values in her, that it's not about gifts, it's something very religious, very spiritual, and so far so good. She always wants to share everything she has with a couple of the orphans that we've met in Armenia.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're, again, I don't want to take any victory dance or anything either, but I think we've done a pretty good job. My family doesn't really talk about, the kind of things that they want during Christmas, so we don't get too wrapped up in that. But it is going around, and there's a lot of, you're bombarded every day about the shopping and the Christmas stuff, but we don't. And luckily, our family doesn't get too wrapped up in that, but you can see it, it's all around you. It's hard to escape it.
Is it traditional also to put up a Christmas tree?
Well, we do it because we're in America. We do that here. I don't think it was an Armenian tradition. I don't know.
In Armenia, actually, again, during the Soviet times, they were putting up the Christmas tree. We were putting up the Christmas tree, but it was done around New Year's. So New Year's Day was a much bigger celebration because it was a quote-unquote allowed holiday. So people sort of merged the Christmas into that and put up the Christmas tree around New Year's.
Well, we hope you have a great Christmas and Happy New Year, and we want to thank all our viewers for tuning in, and have a really happy holiday.